Chapter 857. When they arrived at Sauter, the scene was very different from what Gu Mingming had expected. She did not see any stray beasts, nor did she see any desolate or violent scenes. On the contrary, everything was orderly and thriving. Oakley and Barit, along with Sandy and the three little ones, stood at the city gates to welcome them. Compared to their warm and natural manner, Gu Mingming's worried and anxious manner of rushing all the way here seemed a little strange and baffling. Mummy, Jiaoyu was the first to pounce into Gu Mingming's arms. The other two brothers were a step later and also pounced into Gu Mingming's arms. Having not seen her sons for a long time, Gu Mingming naturally missed them. She hugged her three sons and kissed them one by one. She looked them up and down carefully to make sure that they were all healthy and safe. Only then did she relax. You must have had a tough journey, right? Let's enter the city first. Sandy held Gu Mingming's little hand and led the children into the city. As they walked, she said, "That person in your family has prepared a surprise for you." Gu Mingming was confused. That person in our family? She turned back to look at Elvis and Leah. The two of them shook their heads silently. Their eyes were filled with a trace of melancholy as they instinctively rubbed the little wolf cubs' heads. Gu Mingming instantly understood that they were referring to Cole. Frowning, Gu Mingming did not reply. Why was Cole in their family? This was too strange. Sandy was not someone who would joke about such things. She was so afraid of Leah and Elvis that she would definitely not dare to touch this topic in front of them. Moreover, she knew how much Gu Mingming hated Cole because of Qixian. She would never joke about such things. But, looking at her, it was too natural, as if she was speaking the truth. She swallowed the questions that were at the tip of her tongue. Perhaps this was not a good time. And something must have happened to Sandy. It would be a waste of time to ask now. Sandy sent Gu Mingming to the gates of the stone castle. Then she patted Gu Mingming's shoulder and said, "Here, I will send you here. Remember to tell me tomorrow what kind of surprise he has prepared for you? I'm very curious." Gu Mingming smiled faintly and said, "All right." Sandy lowered her head and looked at the three little ones. "Mommy definitely won't have time to take care of you tonight. Go home with mother-in-law." The three little ones pouted, but still nodded and followed Sandy obediently. Oakley bowed to Gu Mingming and said, "There are many things to do in the city. I will take my leave first." This subordinate, the Oakley who would tell her that he liked her with a blushing face, and who would force himself to accompany her to pick honey even though he was scared to death, would not be able to go back, right? Ever since her identity as the messenger of the beast deity was exposed, he had been very distant from her. After inheriting Snake's powers, she seemed to have completely lost this friend. "It's been hard on you, go ahead." Gu Mingming had no choice but to go along with everyone's changes. If she wasn't herself anymore, then what right did she have to ask everyone to treat her the way she used to be? After all, there would still be burdens. After Oakley left, Barit looked at Gu Mingming and remained silent for a long time before saying slowly, "Be careful, don't be rash." Chapter 858. Elvis and Leah each took one side and pushed open the main doors of the stone castle. The so-called surprise was just Cole standing at the door, smiling at them with his head tilted to one side. Gu Mingming frowned and secretly searched for Qixian, but there was no sign of him. After waiting for a long while, Cole suddenly laughed. "I thought you would throw a tantrum at me the moment you see me. Looks like my beloved master is not angry at me, right?" Gu Mingming had originally wanted to ignore Cole, but now that he was the only one who knew where Qixian was, she did not want to argue with him. She directly asked, "Where is Qixian?" Cole lowered his head and chuckled, looking very pleased. "Little Xian is a sensible child. He knows that we have not seen each other for a long time, so he purposely avoided me to give us some intimate space." Gu Mingming walked around Cole and directly sat on the stone chair placed in the hall facing the door. The stone chair was covered with a complete white tiger skin, giving it a little of the feeling of the loyalty gathering hall. Gu Mingming had one foot on the edge of the chair, her other hand casually resting on her knee. Her other foot was on the ground and her elbow was propped against the armrest of the stone chair. She supported her temple with the back of her hand, giving off the domineering aura of a female bandit. Elvis and Leah had been standing behind her the whole time. They did not speak and just guarded her. Gu Mingming said, "Let's skip the pleasantries. We are not that close. Tell me directly, what is your motive for luring me here?" Cole smiled bitterly. He looked rather wronged and helpless as he said, "I saw that you were getting along well with Sandy and the rest just now. I thought that you had already adjusted your emotions on the way here and were no longer angry at me." Gu Mingming laughed coldly. I know how to adjust my emotions and adapt to the situation. But this does not stop me from holding a grudge. Cole spread his hands, looking as if he could not do anything to Gu Mengmeng. He said in a doting tone, "Can't you think of me in a positive light? Or maybe I just want you to have a more comfortable winter." Gu Mengmeng clicked her tongue impatiently. She then retracted her gaze from Cole's face. "The one who makes me the most uncomfortable here is you. So, keep that disgusting face of yours. I am afraid I will not be able to control myself and slap you to death." Cole did not get angry and just maintained his usual elegant smile. Back then, Gu Mingming only felt that he was polite and gentlemanly, but now she felt that he was disgustingly hypocritical. Cole did not avoid Gu Mingming's disgusted gaze at all. He smiled vaguely and said, "You said you hate me, but you still followed in my footsteps, didn't you?" Gu Mingming didn't answer Cole's question and just asked, "Where's Qi? I want to see Qi." Chapter 859. Elvis smiled devilishly and charged towards Cole without a second word. "Beat him up." Other than "I love you," this was Elvis's favorite sentence to hear Gu Mingming say. Especially when the target was Cole, that was simply, ha! His sharp claws and fangs were already unbearably hungry. However, facing Elvis's lethal attack, not only did Cole not retaliate, he did not even have any intention of dodging. He just had a sly smile on his face as if he was playing into my hands. Indeed, the feeling was not right. Elvis did not have the time to see what had happened and only felt that his fist had hit something, but it was definitely not Cole. A black shadow flew out from Elvis's attack and landed in a corner with a thud. Looking over, it was Qi. That tiny body kept twitching and blood spurted out of his mouth. He was on the verge of death, but he raised his head and stared at Elvis warily. It was as if Elvis dared to attack Cole again, he would pounce on Elvis without a care for his own life. Gu Mingming panicked the moment she saw Qi. Elvis had used all his strength in his attack on Cole. If it had been a direct hit, Cole's head would have been severed from his neck. The tiny Qi had not evolved yet. How could he withstand the 5th level Elvis's punch? "Leah, hurry!" Gu Mingming rushed towards Qi without a second word. She wanted to hug him but did not dare to touch him. I wonder if his bones are broken? Were his internal organs all right? She had seen first aid attempts on television. It was not wise to move a severely injured patient as it could cause a second injury. Gu Mingming knelt beside Qi. Her heart ached so much that tears streamed down her face. She could not wipe them clean no matter how hard she tried. Her sons were her flesh and blood. Especially Qi, who had suffered more than the other 3. Her guilt towards Qi had already reached its peak and suffocated her. Now it was like a flash flood that could not be stopped. Leah knew how much Gu Mingming cared for Qi and naturally did not dare to be negligent. But the moment he approached, Qi bared his teeth and took a defensive stance. He even pulled at his own wounds and struggled to stand up. "You think I care?" Elvis's cold and sinister voice came from above her head. Gu Mingming was stunned for a moment. She understood that Qi must have said something while whimpering. Her heart ached for her son's injuries and she was anxious to know what he had said, so she could not help but vent her anger on Elvis. "Why are you so fierce? My son is injured, why are you yelling at him?" Elvis gritted his teeth and clenched his fists tightly, refusing to speak. "What did he say? Tell me, what does he want? Did he say that he was in pain? Did he say that he was in pain?" Gu Mingming was on the verge of breaking down. She really wanted to give herself 2 tight slaps. She should not have allowed Elvis to attack Cole. She clearly knew that Qi was in Cole's hands, so what if he teased her a little? Why couldn't she just endure it? Elvis pulled Gu Mingming into his arms, allowing her to pounce and behave atrociously in his arms. He glared at Qi and let out a few low whimpers, replying to Qishuan's words using the way wolves communicate. Chapter 860. Cole took 2 steps forward and squatted down, shielding half of his chest behind Gu Mingming. He placed one broken hand on Gu Mingming's shoulder and the other on the hand Gu Mingming was using to stroke Qishuan's head. He smiled at Qi. "Little Shen, be good. Don't be afraid. Your mother and I will stay by your side. She won't leave and neither will I. However, you have to get well soon. Don't let your mother worry because if she does, our hearts will ache, won't it?" Qi nodded obediently. He looked at Gu Mingming expectantly as if waiting for her reply. This gaze forced Gu Mingming to resist the urge to fling Cole away. Discomfort spread from the places he touched and nausea spread throughout her entire body. But Gu Mingming didn't want Qi to be upset. She clenched her teeth and forced a smile. She comforted Qi. Be good. Mother will accompany you. Oro will. Qi called out weakly again. Gu Mingming didn't understand what he was saying. She turned to look at Elvis, only to see that his face was so black that ink could drip from it. He gritted his teeth and glared at Qi. Don't push your luck. Gu Mingming frowned and looked at Leah. Lee's expression didn't look too good, but he didn't say a word. Left with no choice, Gu Mingming looked at Cole. Cole chuckled. Children are just a little willful. Moreover, you were the one who beat him up. Shouldn't you satisfy his willfulness and make up for your mistake? I forgot. Mighty Elvis has always believed in the principle of, the strong get all the benefits. He won't give in even to a cub that Agu cares so much about. With that, Cole turned to look at Qi with a stern expression. Little Xian, don't be rude to Mighty Elvis. He is your mother's first partner. If you act like this, your mother will be put in a difficult position. Qi sniffled pitifully and whimpered. Gu Mingming didn't expect Elvis and Leah to translate for her. She just looked at Cole. What is my son saying? Cole smiled, his gaze light as he said, Little Xian is afraid of Sir Elvis and Sir Leah, so he hopes that the two of them can leave. Although it was just a child spouting nonsense, Lord Elvis's punch almost took Xianer's life. Agu should empathize with Xianer's fear. After all, he was still a child. Just take it as a child's words. Gu Mingming felt extremely uncomfortable. Damn it, Cole's words made it seem as if he was Qishuan's biological father and Elvis was an outsider. I don't need you to apologize for my son. Gu Mingming's displeasure was written all over her face. Cole wasn't annoyed. He just lowered his head and said, I have crossed the line. But if you must punish someone, please punish me. Qi, can't take any more torture now. Gu Mingming wanted to hit someone. Cole's words meant that Elvis's biological father and her biological mother had tortured Qi, but Qishuan's injuries were indeed caused by Elvis. Damn it, I don't even have the right to retort. This *ket up situation. Gu Mingming didn't want to continue talking nonsense with Cole. She shrugged off his arm and then said to Qi in a gentle voice, Qi, be good. Let Daddy Leah take a look at your injuries, alright? Chapter 861. In the face of a willful child, parents could only compromise. Because they dared to hurt themselves to coerce you, and you were never as heartless as you claimed to be. You could really watch them die and then calmly collect their corpses. Gu Mingming immediately relented the moment Qi struggled. Yes, that's right. Doting mothers often spoil their children, but so what? The dying man in front of her was her son, her biological son. Turning around, Gu Mingming's eyes were filled with tears. She looked at Elvis and Leah and said, You two can leave first and return to the stone house we used to stay in temporarily. Elvis did not move, he just frowned and looked at her. I'm begging you. Gu Mingming sobbed, her heart aching at the sight of Qishuan's injuries. Clenching his fists tightly, Elvis's final compromise was to wait for her outside the door. Gu Mingming nodded. She would not force Qi to stay away. She would be satisfied as long as Qishuan's emotions could calm down. After Elvis and Leah left, Qi shifted his little head and rested his chin on Gu Mingming's knee. He closed his eyes and groaned, clearly in extreme pain. Cole gently wiped away Gu Mingming's tears with his fingers, then placed it into his mouth to taste it. He smiled faintly and said, Salty? Are you a pervert? Gu Mingming blocked Cole's hand that was reaching towards her again with a look of disgust. Cole lowered his head to look at Qi before looking up at Gu Mingming. He sighed softly. I have already instructed someone to call Dylan over to treat little Xian. Don't worry too much. I won't let anything happen to Xian or... Gu Mingming stared coldly at Cole. I really don't know what kind of magic potion you fed Qi, that he would actually risk his life to protect you. Bewitching potion. If I really had that kind of thing, shouldn't I give it to you first? Cole continued smiling and did not take Gu Mingming's sarcastic words to heart. He was like a pampered female who indulged herself. No matter what she said, it seemed like she was flirting with him. How? Qi, who was in her arms, called out softly, immediately attracting all her attention. The most annoying thing was that she couldn't understand what her son was saying. If not for the fact that she was worried about Qishuan's serious injuries, she would have immediately gone to sleep and find that lonely old man to discuss things with. She could at least call him father and ask him to give her a language cheat code. He had to bring a translator with him when he was talking to his own son. How humiliating was that? Cole noticed the gloomy look on Gu Mingming's face, and for some reason, he was in a good mood. Rubbing Qishuan's little head, he said, Little Xian, don't be afraid. It's not that your mother doesn't like me and doesn't want to leave us. Woo woo, Qixuan's gaze was a little unfocused as he looked up at Gu Mingming, looking so pitiful that it made one's heart ache. Gu, don't let little Shen worry, alright? Cole's brows were slightly furrowed as he pleaded sincerely. There was no need for a translation. Gu Mingming understood what Qixin had been sobbing about just by listening to Cole's words. But she really did not understand why were the four little ones in Elvis so incompatible, treating outsiders better than the other? Especially this Cole, gritting her teeth, Gu Mingming could not argue with her severely injured son. Even if she wanted to educate him, she had to wait until he recovered. Chapter 862. Qixin seemed to have received a satisfactory answer before he slowly closed his eyes. Gu Mingming was instinctively worried about Qixuan's action of closing his eyes. He had already been unconscious for a long time. How long would he sleep for? Cole held Gu Mingming's hand gently. Don't worry, he will be fine. Gu Mingming glared at Cole coldly. She was filled with disgust and wariness. She struggled a few times but was unable to retract her hand. Instead, her large movements dragged Qixin, who was lying on her knees. That little cub was in so much pain that he shut his eyes tightly and whimpered. Seeing that Gu Mingming had given up struggling, Cole's smile deepened. In your eyes, I am probably the worst person in this world, right? Gu Mingming was unwilling to respond to Cole. She just gently wiped away the blood at the side of Qixuan's mouth. There were no visible external injuries, but his internal organs must have been injured. Otherwise, why would he be vomiting blood? Cole did not care about Gu Mingming's lack of response. He continued. You are the messenger of the beast deity. You are the most righteous and bright person in this world. I am the leader of the stray beast. I am the darkest and evilest person in this world. Since both of us do not wish for anything to happen to little Shen, he will definitely be safe. Isn't that so? Gu Mingming glared at Cole coldly. You do not wish for anything to happen to him, yet you let him be your meat shield? Don't treat me like a fool. Do you dare to say that you did not predict that Qixin would rush out, so you purposely did not dodge Elvis's attack? Cole chuckled. If I say that I did not dodge because you wanted to see him beat me up, would you believe me? No. Gu Mingming replied. Cole lowered his head. His expression could not be seen clearly. He just said softly, Gu. I thought that after meeting Peter and Natalie, you would at least understand me a little better. Gu Mingming frowned. She looked at Cole as if he was an idiot. Cole heaved a deep sigh of relief. He laughed self-deprecatingly. Forget it. I know you do not like to hear about me. I will not bother you. You just have to accompany little Shen. He hasn't seen you for a long time. Although he doesn't say it, I know that he misses you very much. Gu Mingming didn't reply and neither did Cole. The two of them just sat there quietly until the door to the stone castle was pushed open. Dylan walked in with steady steps. He looked at Cole but didn't say a word. Then he bowed to Gu Mingming and without saying a word, he walked to Qixuan's side and started treating him. Dylan's attitude towards Cole surprised Gu Mingming. She had thought that with Cole's vengeful personality, Dylan would be the first to suffer when he returned this time. She had thought that with Cole's vengeful personality, Dylan would be the first to suffer. After all, it was Dylan who had helped Gu Mingming and Leah to pull Cole down from his position as the leader of the Messenger's tribe to become a stray beast. He had even lost his tail and an arm. But who would have thought that when the two of them met again, they would be so strangely calm? Cole stood beside Gu Mingming and chuckled. Are you surprised that I didn't kill him? Gu Mingming didn't reply. She just stared at Qixin. Her heart was completely captivated by this son of hers. Cole glanced sideways at Gu Mingming quietly. You obtained the kiss of the ocean, right? Gu Mingming replied with a mm. She didn't want to waste any more time talking to Cole. Chapter 863. Give it to me. Cole stretched out his hand with his palm facing up, placing it in front of Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming glanced sideways at Cole warily. Cole chuckled and asked, Are you afraid that if I use the kiss of the ocean to activate the Beast King bloodline, Elvis and Leah will be in danger? Gu Mingming raised her brows and thought to herself, this Cole really knows a lot of things. Even a witch doctor like Leah did not know that the 7 treasures could activate the Beast King's bloodline, but Cole was so clear about it. Cole maintained his smile from start to finish, neither cold nor warm. He maintained an appropriate level of propriety, neither too intimate nor too distant. He maintained it at a level where Gu Mingming had no reason to fly into a rage but could not easily ignore it. He said, No matter what, I have been the leader of Sauter for more than 10 years, it's not surprising that I know these things. Cole took a deep breath and raised his head. I have been at the peak of the 5th level for more than 10 years. With my abilities, I should be able to control the kiss of the ocean. If I really wanted to use it to activate the Beast King bloodline, would you still be willing to give it to me? Gu Mingming remained silent for a moment before chuckling. Why wouldn't I? This is what we agreed on. I'll gather everything for you, and you'll return my son to me. As for how you spend the ransom, that's your business. It has nothing to do with me. Cole closed in on Gu Mingming and looked into her eyes playfully. Aren't you afraid that I will kill your precious partner after I become the Beast King? Gu Mingming looked up and did not avoid Cole's gaze at all. She returned it with a sharp and cold stare. Don't forget I am also a Beast King. Unless I die, no one can harm my mate. Cole straightened his back and widened the distance between him and Gu Mingming. With a teasing smile, he said, So don't worry, I am not using the kiss of the ocean for myself. After all, if my opponent is you, I won't be able to fight at all. Gu Mingming scoffed at Cole's words and did not intend to give any response. Cole continued, You should have realized that the kiss of the ocean can absorb toxins from the body. It's effective on you and it's the same for Qixuan. So, I will use this treasure on Qixuan. Gu Mingming was stunned. How did he know that the kiss of the ocean would be effective on her? Could it be that Cole even knew about her time with Elvis and Saint Nazaire? Wasn't this too fantastical? After all, only Elvis and Gu Mingming were present at that time. She did not believe that Elvis would share such a thing with Cole. Cole could see the doubt in Gu Mingming's eyes, but he did not answer her. He just smiled and said, Can you give it to me now? If we have that, I believe Xian'er's injuries will heal a little faster. Gu Mingming retracted her gaze from Cole's face. Chapter 864. Gu Mingming didn't say a word and just watched Dylan's departing figure. The people around her were starting to treat her with respect and distance. She had to get used to this kind of relationship. After all, she was the messenger of the beast deity, a high and lonely position. Not everyone could resist the external and internal pressure and still look at her the same way they used to. Cole's disdainful gaze at Dylan was cold and the smile on his lips was tinged with malice. Because he was Agu's man, he stayed. But it seemed like he was wrong. In this world I am the only one who can make Agu unhappy. So you are really an eyesore. Cole made a low sound in his throat as if he was clearing his throat because he was not feeling well. Gu Mingming didn't care. Why would she care about Cole's life? But she didn't know that her momentary disappointment and indifference had caused Dylan, who had once helped her, to never appear again. After using the beast language code to give orders to the stray beasts hiding in the dark, Cole accompanied Gu Mingming and sat beside Qixuan. He caressed Qixuan's body and observed Gu Mingming's reaction from the corner of his eye. After confirming that she didn't notice anything amiss, he reached out his hand and said, Give me the kiss of the ocean. You also wish for little Xian to get better soon, don't you? Gu Mingming took out the black pearl from her pocket and handed it to Cole. Cole was a little surprised. He played with the black pearl in his hand and smiled. So this is the kiss of the ocean. With that, Cole plucked a strand of his hair and pinched it lightly. That strand of hair was as straight as a silver needle. Gu Mingming was a little surprised. She was a beast king, right? Why didn't she know such a perverted skill? Snake's memories didn't mention that it could be used like this. Cole gladly accepted the flash of surprise in Gu Mingming's eyes. That was a rare emotion she gave him other than disgust and wariness. He naturally cherished it. The index finger and thumb of one hand were pinching the black pearl, while the index finger and thumb of the other hand were pinching one end of the hair. Slowly and gently, the hair was inserted directly into the pearl and went through it. Cole tied the black pearl around Qixuan's neck. Then he pried open his mouth and placed the black pearl in his mouth for him to hold. Nudging Qixuan's lower jaw gently to prevent the pearl from falling out, Cole rubbed Qixuan's head reluctantly. He turned to look at Gu Mingming. All right, with this kiss of the ocean, the poison in little Xian's body will no longer act up. So, I can no longer use Xian to threaten you. So, are you going to kill me now? Gu Mingming frowned, feeling that things were not so simple. Would Cole be so kind? How could she not believe it? If you are willing to return Qixuan to me, I can let bygones be bygones. I will be my messenger of the beast deity and you will be your stray beast king. We will mind our own business and live in harmony. Let bygones be bygones? Cole chuckled helplessly. If that's the case, I might not be able to return little Xian to you. I want to be the most special existence in Agu's heart. If I can't especially like and love him, then I will especially hate and loathe him. Aside from the topic, March would be over in 10 days. Susu was working hard to save her manuscript. She needed motivation. For example, tickets. Chapter 865. Gu Mingming stepped in between Cole and Qixuan and raised her head. Sorry, I already know. Now that Qixuan is fine, do you think you still have the ability to snatch him away from me? Cole stood at his original spot without moving. How do you know that he won't want me no matter what after he wakes up? Gu Mingming frowned. Her heart felt stifled. She could not deny that as his biological mother, she did not spend as much time with Qixuan as Cole. She always had various matters to settle and would often leave her sons to Sandy to take care of. As for her as a mother, she really did not seem to be a competent one. As for Cole, he had been by Qixuan's side day and night ever since he had brought him along. He was still a child after all. His thirst for familial love was so strong. It was her negligence that had given Cole a chance. Judging from how he had blocked Elvis's attack for Cole without any regard for his own safety, it was obvious that his need for familial love had reached a certain level. He would definitely look for him after he wakes up. She could easily kill Cole now. But what would happen after that? How would she deal with the psychological damage she had caused to Qixuan? She had neglected him and failed to provide him with companionship. Then she had deprived him of the consolation he had found. Clenching her fists, Gu Mingming's eyes were filled with anger. Cole lowered his head. It's that gaze, the way he only looks at me. It makes my heart beat faster. Gu Mingming took 2 deep breaths and suppressed the irritation in her heart. She said, "Before I change my mind, get lost from my sight." Cole nodded and placed his right hand on his left chest. "Yes, my beloved mistress." With that, his gaze swept across the unconscious Qixuan. Without any hesitation, he turned to leave. The moment he left, Elvis and Leah walked in together. Leah was the first to check on Qixuan's injuries. After all, he was much better at handling such things than Dylan. Elvis held Gu Mingming in his arms and rubbed his chin against the top of her head. Seeing that she was safe and sound, he finally relaxed. "I clearly know that he has no ability to hurt you, but I still can't help but worry. Xiaoming, as long as I can't see you, I will feel uneasy as though I will lose you. Can you not disappear from my sight again?" Gu Mingming pressed her face against Elvis's chest and listened to his breathing and heartbeat. After a while she said, "Cole gave the kiss of the ocean to Qixuan. The poison in Qixuan's body will no longer act up." She looked up at Elvis and asked, "Hubby, did I do something wrong?" Elvis frowned, his heart aching for the sadness in Gu Mingming's eyes. Gu Mingming's cold, unyielding facade against Cole was completely removed in front of Elvis. She was soft and sensitive, full of guilt towards Qixuan. "I seem to have endless things to deal with every day, but I always throw my sons to the back of my mind. If I had been by their side, Cole would not have had the chance to take advantage of me." She took advantage of the fact that Qixuan needed to be concerned about her. "I didn't give my sons enough love to support their growth. I should have realized this when Burke appeared, but, hubby, I really wonder if I'm a bad mother?" Chapter 866. But Cole has always been good at manipulating people's hearts. No matter what he says to you, he must have an ulterior motive. If you let him manipulate you, you will fall into his trap. Xiaoming, you must believe in yourself and our sons. They are wolves, not sheep reared in captivity. They need to be trained to grow sharp fangs and claws. Believe in our sons? Gu Mingming's eyes welled up with tears at Elvis's words. "I thought you didn't like them." Gu Mingming sobbed. Elvis kissed Gu Mingming's tears away and placed her in his arms. "They are flesh that fell from your body. How can I not like them?" "But, Xiaoming, what drives one forward is never the faint light in the darkness, but the bottomless abyss behind them. They were born in our family and are destined to have an extraordinary life. If they are not strong and mature, not only will they put themselves in danger, they will also implicate their families and even the tribe to struggle with them in this muddy whirlpool. Sometimes being heartless is also a form of love. Do you understand?" Gu Mingming nodded in a daze. She wiped away her tears and said, "You understand the rules of survival in the beast world better than me. I believe that your decision is logical. But hubby, my heart still aches for them." Elvis kissed Gu Mingming's brow. "It's all right. I will be in charge of the darkness and cruelty. You will be in charge of caring and gentleness. If you want to care for them, do it. If you want to protect them, do it. If you quarrel with me because of them, it's all right too. Anyway, I will give in to you. I will train them into outstanding wolves without making you feel guilty towards them." No one will be able to use them to threaten you anymore. Is that okay? Gu Mingming nodded her head heavily before replying, yeah. Under Li's care, Qixuan's body recovered very well. That night, Gu Mingming asked Elvis to fetch the 3 little ones from Sandy's house. She decided that it was better for her own sons to be taken care of by herself. 3 days later, Qixuan slowly opened his eyes. Whimpering weakly, Gu Mingming hurried to his side and gently stroked his little head to comfort him. Qixuan, you're awake? That's great. My sons are so brave. Do you want some water? Or do you want to eat something? Daddy Leah has prepared some meat porridge that is easier to digest. Do you want some? Qixuan obediently allowed Gu Mingming to stroke him. He blinked a few times to adjust to the light and his eyes started darting around, obviously looking for something. Gu Mingming's heart skipped a beat, clearly feeling uneasy. How do you know that he won't want me after he wakes up? Cole's words circled around Gu Mingming's ears. Gu Mingming didn't even need anyone to translate for her to easily understand the beast language that Qixuan was hiding in his throat. He was looking for Cole. Qixuan, Mama will accompany you, okay? Gu Mingming gently wrapped her arms around Qixuan's neck and gently kissed his little head. Mummy promises that I will never abandon you guys again. No matter where I go, I will bring the 4 of you with me. So, forgive Mummy for my negligence in the past and give Mummy a chance to change, alright? Qixuan nodded. Chapter 867. Qixuan had to recuperate for half a month. Elvis and Leah discussed that they would not have enough time to stock up on food if they rushed back to St. Nazaire now, so they could only spend the winter in Sauder. So while Qixuan was recuperating, Leah was responsible for staying at home to take care of Gu Mingming and Qixuan, while Elvis brought the 3 little ones out to hunt. The 4 of them carried back piles of prey every day. On this day the air was extremely cold. Gu Mingming could sense that winter had arrived. Leah went up to the 2nd floor of the stone castle to retrieve a beast skin to seal the windows, while Gu Mingming sat beside Qixuan, gently caressing his little head and speaking gently to him from time to time. Suddenly Qixuan stood up. Before Gu Mingming could rejoice at Qixuan's recovery, he suddenly leapt up and dashed towards the door. Qixuan! Gu Mingming exclaimed. Qixuan paused in his steps and turned to look at Gu Mingming deeply. That look seemed to be saying goodbye. Gu Mingming wanted to chase after him, but Qixuan dashed out the door without looking back. At that moment, large snowflakes fell from the sky, blurring their vision and the road ahead. It also blurred Gu Mingming's footsteps. How ironic. The first time she understood her son's intentions was when he turned around. He did not say anything, but Gu Mingming knew very well that Qixuan had gone to look for Cole. Sitting paralyzed on the ground, Gu Mingming covered her face and cried silently. When Leah heard the commotion downstairs and rushed downstairs, he only saw Gu Mingming sitting at the door crying pitifully. Qixuan was already nowhere to be seen. Without needing to ask, Leah knew what had happened. Hugging Gu Mingming and patting her back, Leah comforted her gently. Qixuan is Cole's biggest bargaining chip against you. He will not let anything happen to Qixuan. Gu Mingming hugged Li's arm and buried her face in his chest. She knew that Cole would not let anything happen to Qixuan. She was crying because Qixuan's resolute back view was like a sharp sword piercing through her heart. Cole's words, how do you know that he will not insist on me after he wakes up? From the start, Gu Mingming had been living in fear of losing Qixuan. And that look from Qixuan, it was as if he was saying, Mummy, I'm sorry. Goodbye, Mum. Between her and Cole, her Qixuan had chosen Cole. It wasn't because of the poison, he wasn't forced. Cole didn't even appear in front of him during this period of time. But in Qixuan's heart, Cole was already more important than his own mother. Gu Mingming felt as if her throat was being gripped tightly by someone. No matter how hard she tried to breathe, she still felt suffocated. She had lost Qixuan, she had really lost Qixuan. That feeling was as if someone had used a knife to forcefully cut out a piece of flesh from her heart, causing blood to spurt out. When Elvis and the 3 little ones returned, Gu Mingming had already cried herself to sleep. Leah handed Gu Mingming, whose eyes were swollen like peaches, to Elvis. He sighed and said, how about I go look for her? Elvis shook his head and said, if he has his eyes set on Cole, even if you kidnap him back, he will still run away again. Forget it, let him be. My son Elvis can be responsible for his own life. Since that was the path he wanted to walk, even his parents had no right to stop him. As for Xiaoming. Chapter 868. When Gu Mingming woke up, she realized there were 3 little ones lying beside her. Why were they lying down? because they were all in their beast forms. This was very strange, they rarely revealed their beast forms after evolving into half-orcs. Gu Mingming was a little worried. She hugged her sons and asked in a hoarse voice, "What's wrong with you guys? Are you feeling unwell?" The little wolves shook their heads and licked Gu Mingming's face. They howled and acted coquettishly. Winter is here and their ability to resist the cold is not enough. So their beast forms are the most comfortable and warmest for them. Elvis explained for his sons before carrying Gu Mingming up from the pile of little wolves. He kissed her little hand and continued, "Do you want to play in the snow?" Elvis remembered that at this time last year, Gu Mingming pestered him to go for a walk in the snow. She said something like, "During the first snowfall, I want to walk in the snow with the person I like. Because as I walk, my hair will turn white." At that time he was worried that her body was too weak and could not take it, so he rejected her. In the end, he could not stand her coaxing and pestering and finally brought her out. In the end, she fell sick when they returned, but it was also that illness that gave him the chance to mate with her. Now, her body was still petite but she had Snake's Beast King powers. Resisting the cold was no longer a problem, but she could not be as carefree as a child as she was last year. Gu Mingming shook her head and said, "Forget it, the children are afraid of the cold. I will stay at home with them and not go out." Elvis did not want to force Gu Mingming, but the three little ones jumped up high and clung onto Gu Mingming's legs, looking eager to try. Kamwo had already walked to the door and was circling on the spot, howling at Gu Mingming. It was obvious that he was begging her to go out to play. "Want to go out?" Gu Mingming asked softly. Oh. The three little ones' howls were filled with excitement and anticipation. Gu Mingming did not want to disappoint her son, so she smiled and nodded. Leah took the beast's skin and wrapped Gu Mingming up before standing beside Elvis and leaving the stone castle. Although they were going out to play, they would not go too far. After all, the snow came in a threatening manner and could turn into a storm at any time, engulfing everything in the beast world in silvery white frost. The snow at the entrance had already reached Gu Mingming's calves. The three little ones were now more muscular than a normal adult wolf, so the depth of the snow was not a threat to them. Seeing snow for the first time, the three little ones were obviously a little excited. Their two hind legs dug into the ground, sending snow flying high into the air and splashing all over each other. Gu Mingming looked at her sons playing happily and a faint smile appeared on her face. It would be great if Qixin was here too. Since she was no longer in the mood to play, Gu Mingming nestled in Elvis's arms and watched her three sons play around. A snowball smashed onto Elvis's face and some snowflakes splashed onto Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming turned around and saw Leah looking at them with a sneaky smile, while the second snowball was already on its way. Elvis frowned and easily dodged the second snowball. He then smiled at Gu Mingming and asked, "Xiaoming, can I beat him up?" Chapter 869. The two adults and three kids played around Gu Mingming, forcefully smashing the melancholy in Gu Mingming's heart into pieces. As the snowflakes splashed on her body, the melancholy slowly dissipated before falling off. Looking at her gradually brightening smile, a pair of eyes hidden under the snow in the distance shone. It was hard to tell if it was peace of mind or loneliness. He just slowly turned around and retreated back the way he came. In a stone house in Sauter, Cole sat on the high seat like a king. His lazy and wanton gaze landed on the stone tablet embedded in the wall. Was Agu throwing a tantrum with him? He could almost imagine the sly smile on her face when she was carving these things. Yeah, she was a cute little fox. Using this stone tablet to tell him that she knew where his abilities came from? So, this stone tablet was carved by Agu thinking of him, right? What a great gift. The sound of a body swaying could be heard from the door. Cole's gaze was gentle as he looked for the source of the sound. Even before he saw anyone, he already knew who it was. "Is she all right?" Cole asked softly. Qixin let out a few muffled sobs. "Envious? Then why don't you show yourself? If you are willing to go back, she will be happy." Cole's lips curled into a playful smile. He waved his hand and Qixin jumped onto his knees. He lay down with his legs crossed, like an obedient large pet dog. Hearing Qixuan's reply, Cole's smile deepened. He rubbed his head and said, "Silly son, don't pity me so easily. I am the great demon king of the beast world." "Howl? Yeah, I know." Cole looked up and closed his eyes. "One day she will be mine. Then our family will not have to be separated anymore." The snow was getting heavier and the stone castle had already been completely sealed. The structure of the stone castle was more complete than the cave and was closer to the style of modern architecture. There were 2 levels with 7 rooms upstairs and 4 rooms downstairs. The hall was a more spacious area. Elvis had started a fire here to cook and keep warm. The food was piled up in the room on the first floor, and the three cubs did not have their own rooms, so they slept directly in the hall, lying next to the fire, which was also warm. That day, Gu Mingming unexpectedly did not let Leah prepare the food. Instead, she personally prepared a sumptuous meal. The three little ones circled around Gu Mingming, full of curiosity towards the food in their mother's hands. After working for a long time, although the ingredients were limited, they still managed to fill the table. Gu Mingming leaned into Elvis's arms and kissed the side of his face lightly. She said, "Hubby, happy first anniversary of our mating." Elvis felt as if a warm current had flowed into his heart, making it extremely soft. His eyes seemed to contain the depth of the entire ocean. He said gently, "So you've been busy today to celebrate your first year as a partner?" Gu Mingming nodded. "This is an important day for us, isn't it?" "Yes." Elvis kissed her temple. Actually, to him, from the moment he saw Gu Mingming in the lake, every day was an important day. But because of Gu Mingming's concern, the day of mating became an important day for Elvis. It was the most important day. Chapter 870. Lee's appearance was a stark contrast to Elvis's. A year ago at this time, he stood guard in the snow outside the cave alone, guarding the door for them. He listened to the ambiguous conversation through the snow and was tortured by it. Then he finally found a reason to come in and see her, but she used every single word to stab his heart. What maintaining the demeanor of an ex-boyfriend, what parting and being happy with each other, what being strangers from now on, there's only you and me in the world, not us. The three little ones did not know the complicated thoughts between the adults, they only knew that the food their mother made was especially delicious. Even if everyone in the world said that Daddy Lee's cooking was the best, but the taste of their mother was the one that satisfied the three little ones the most. After the meal, Elvis kissed Gu Mingming's face and said, "You've worked hard for a day, let Leah bring you upstairs to rest, I'll wash the dishes today." Before Gu Mingming could react, Leah had already carried Gu Mingming out from Elvis's arms horizontally. But Gu Mingming's gaze was filled with conflict. Today was the one-year anniversary of mating, shouldn't she and Elvis be the ones accompanying each other? Leah kissed Gu Mingming's lips with a deep gaze. After closing the door, he said, "Mingming, do you intend to let this day become my nightmare every year from now on?" Gu Mingming stared at Leah in a daze, unable to react. Leah placed Gu Mingming's little hand by his lips and kissed it, saying, "1 year ago at this time was the darkest and most tragic period of my life. At that time, I didn't want to live anymore because of you. But you cruelly want me to watch you and Elvis intimately every year on this day, reminding me repeatedly of how pathetic I looked when I was struggling outside of your happiness that day?" Gu Mingming looked down, her heart aching. She had neglected Lee's feelings, forgetting that on the day she and Elvis became partners, he was as miserable as they were blissful. Lowering her head, Gu Mingming said, "I'm sorry." Leah placed one hand on the side of her waist and pressed her down. His lips stopped beside her ear and he whispered, "You know very well that I prefer to hear you confess your love more than an apology." Gu Mingming nodded. The Gu Mingming now was no longer the naive Gu Mingming who had just transmigrated. She naturally knew what would happen after Lee's flirting. Blushing, Gu Mingming wrapped her arms around Lee's neck and whispered, "Leah, I love you." Leah bit Gu Mingming's little earlobe and breathed in a husky and charming voice, "These are the most touching words of love I've ever heard. Mingming, let today become our mating day. This way Elvis and I can celebrate with you every year. I will no longer be a lonely existence outside of your happiness. Let me be a part of your happiness, all right?" Chapter 871. Every winter the flow of time would become a mystery. Gu Mingming did not know how long she had slept for and when it was day and night. But when she finally could not endure the empty fort strategy and woke up amidst the waves of protests, she was lying in between Elvis and Leah. She looked up and saw two pairs of eyes staring straight at her. Thinking of the craziness that day, Gu Mingming really wanted to find a piece of tofu and knock herself to death. She did not have the face to see Leah or Elvis. Gu Mingming sat up and pretended not to see them, walking straight to the door. "Did you not serve her well?" Elvis's voice sounded behind Gu Mingming, obviously questioning Leah. This sentence made Gu Mingming's hair stand on end. She was like a cat whose acupoints were hit, arching her back as if she had stepped on an electric switch. Leah was confused. It can't be. Her reaction that day was quite satisfactory. She fainted after that and I stopped because I could not bear to torture her anymore. Could it be, Do you usually continue after she fainted? Gu Mingming really did not want to listen to Elvis and Leah discuss their experiences of doing OXX with her. So she turned her head and glared at them, blushing, "I'm hungry, I want to eat." Seeing her expression, the two of them then understood that Gu Mingming was shy and not dissatisfied with Lee's expression. Chuckling, Elvis reached out and opened his arms, saying, "Xiao Ming, come here." "What?" Gu Mingming blushed and did not move an inch. "Leah needs time to cook. Lie with me for a while more." Leah had already stood up and walked to Gu Mingming's side. He carried her horizontally and placed her back into Elvis's arms. He covered her with a beast skin and kissed her forehead, saying, "There will be food soon, don't be anxious." Lee's words could not be more serious, but it made Gu Mingming's face turn even redder. Damn fox. It was all his fault for saying eat, and eat non-stop that day. Every time she heard the word eat, those indescribable images would replay in her mind and she would soon be traumatized. Although Leah had the intention to continue teasing her, she had slept for a long time after all. Coupled with the intense exercise before sleeping, she was definitely hungry. He was not willing to let his darling Meng Meng starve to death. Thus, he gave up on enjoying the cute look of her getting angry and directly went downstairs to cook. "Do you feel any difference in your body?" Elvis asked as he adjusted the beast skin covering Gu Mingming's body. Gu Mingming's brain had turned into paste and she could not react at all. She did not know what Elvis was asking. Elvis stroked Gu Mingming's left ear gently and smiled. "Lee's mark is clearer and more realistic now. This mating between the two of you is really full of twists and turns. However, since you've already mated with him, you should be able to inherit something from him." Gu Mingming buried her face into Elvis's chest. Mating anniversary and burning with another male, ha! She did not even dare to imagine how Elvis came that day. Elvis understood Gu Mingming's thoughts. He hooked her little chin lightly and made her look straight into his eyes, as if he wanted to pour the depth of the entire ocean into her. He said slowly with a low and mellow voice, "As long as I don't lose you, I can endure anything. I'm your partner and so is he. If he suffers on that day every year, you will be sad. And I won't do anything that will make you sad, isn't that right?" Digression. Why was Elvis's first reaction that Leah did not serve her well and not Gu Mingming's shyness? Chapter 872. Gu Mingming did not continue discussing this topic. From the day she accepted Leah, she knew that she was destined to be in a state of debt when it came to matters of the heart. Elvis and Leah treated her well, so she could only be grateful and try her best to love them even more. Leaning into Elvis's arms, she rubbed against his chest and listened to his heartbeat. Gu Mingming felt at ease as if she had found someone to rely on. Elvis stroked her hair lovingly, letting her nestle in his arms like a docile and lazy cat. He did not wish for his compromises to become a burden in Gu Mingming's heart. In the beast world, any half-orc female would have more than 10 males in her family. A complete female's family would have 30 to 50 members, and the first beauties of each tribe would have more than 100 partners. But Gu Mingming only had him and Leah. Even so, she always felt that she owed them and this made his heart ache. What he gave was not enough, but she already felt that she was too greedy and always took care of their emotions carefully. How good would it be if she could be more willful? That way she would be much happier. As the food in the house had all been processed, coupled with Lee's superb culinary skills, the meal was prepared very quickly. When Gu Mingming smelled the aroma of the meat and woke up, Leah was already standing downstairs, using stone bowls to serve rice and meat to everyone. Gu Mingming ate while looking at her 3 sons, her heart filled with warmth. If only Qixin was here too. Just as she was thinking, a strange sound came from the corner. Elvis and Leah turned around sharply. Gu Mingming immediately shielded her 3 sons behind her, then stared at the sound with her guard up. 2 stone slabs were pushed open and a person walked out from the corner. Without seeing his face clearly, Gu Mingming could already tell who it was from his scent. Cole? Cole did not have time to care about Elvis and Lee's guard up. He walked straight to Gu Mingming and said with a serious expression, "Ah Gu, follow me." Something happened to little Xian. Gu Mingming felt as if all the blood in her body froze in an instant and her mind exploded. Without thinking about anything else, she walked towards Cole. Elvis held her waist and hugged her. "Xiaoming, calm down." Gu Mingming turned back to look at Elvis in a daze. Her entire body was trembling and she could not utter a complete sentence. Calm down? How could he calm down? Qixin was her son. He was the one who had lost the most money and wanted to make it up to her. It was a piece of flesh that had fallen off her body. Gu, you know that I won't use little Xian to lie. Cole grabbed Gu Mingming's wrist and said, time is tight, I don't have time to explain. She then raised her head to look at Elvis and Leah. Follow me if you're worried. Don't waste my time. Elvis pushed Cole's hand away and carried Gu Mingming in his arms. He turned back to look at Leah and said, stay at home and take care of the children. I will accompany Xiao Meng. Leah nodded. Although he was worried about Gu Mingming and Cole being alone together, if this was Cole's ploy to lure them away, Mingming would go crazy if anything happened to the three little ones. Chapter 873. Gu Mingming did not have a good sense of direction to begin with. After turning left and right for a few rounds underground, Gu Mingming was even more confused about north, south, east and west. Only when a ray of light appeared in front of her did she know that she had arrived. Coming out from a secret door that was similar to the entrance, Gu Mingming was stunned for a moment before realizing that she was in Sauter's meeting room. She had memorized the 36 stratagems on the wall, and a white tiger skin was laid on a stone chair. Qixuan's small body was curled up on the animal skin, looking like he was in extreme pain. He gritted his teeth and trembled incessantly, whimpering sounds coming from his throat. Even though she did not understand animal language, she could tell from her maternal instincts that the child was crying out in pain. Gu Mingming's tears streamed down her face. She could not care less about anything else as she rushed over and hugged Qixin in her arms to comfort him. Don't be afraid, little Xian. Mummy is here. Elvis stepped forward and pulled at Qixuan's eyelids and ears. It's alright, don't worry. It's just evolution. Evolve? Gu Mingming looked at Elvis with reddened eyes, as if she was a drowning person grabbing onto a life-saving straw. Elvis nodded. It's just a normal evolution. He's almost 1 year old, it's time for him to evolve. But Huda and the rest weren't like this when they evolved. Gu Mingming sobbed. This was the reality. No matter how strong a woman was, she would still be weak when it came to the problem of her children. That was the softness and sensitivity that they couldn't touch. Elvis remained silent. He could not tell Gu Mingming that it was not that Huda and his brothers were not in pain when they were evolving, but because they were too worried about her, they forcefully released all the pain in an instant. The process was too fast for her to notice. And when it came to evolution from beast form to human form, almost every inch of bone had to be broken, reassembled, broken again, and reassembled again. If that kind of pain erupted in a short period of time, ordinary beastmen wouldn't be able to bear it at all. At best, they would fail to evolve. At worst, they would be crippled or even killed on the spot. So even though he had never mentioned it, Elvis was actually quite proud of the fact that all three of them had successfully evolved into half-orcs. But he could not tell Gu Mingming about this. It was enough for her to worry about Qixin. If the problem of the three little ones' evolution was mentioned, she would definitely blame herself even more. Instead of blaming herself, it was better to blame him. Elvis's expression was indifferent as he said, because the old injuries on his body have not fully healed, so it will be harder for him to evolve. Just get through it. It'll be fine. Gu Mingming glared coldly at Cole. If not for his scheme, Qixin would not have been injured by Elvis. This debt would naturally be placed on his head. Cole did not think that Elvis was trying to push the blame onto him. After all, he was best at manipulating people's hearts. From what he saw, Elvis's words were just trying to shift the blame onto someone else. But it didn't matter. Just like what he said, if he couldn't become someone that Gu Mingming especially liked and especially loved, then she would hate and hate him even more. In any case, it wasn't just one or two things that she hated about him. One more or one less thing made no difference. Hence, Cole did not refute and only said, evolution is the critical period for Qixin. He does not have enough battle experience and has too little experience. I'm afraid that he doesn't have enough power to support his evolution. Even though he has the support of the kiss of the ocean, his body is still too weak due to the poison. So, Agu, you have to help him. Out of topic. Today's update has ended. Regarding the issue of breaking updates in March, Susu wants to apologize to everyone here. The editor requested that I have 250,000 chapters in stock. Yes, she changed her words. She clearly said 200,000 previously, but I only have 140,000 chapters in stock now, so I won't have a chance to be recommended in March. The editor's strict order is that I have to save 250,000 chapters in April, so I may not appear in the fan groups and message boards very often. But baby, even if I don't appear, You all must believe that I love all of you. Chapter 874. How can I help? Gu Mingming looked at Cole with reddened eyes. A drop of blood. Cole replied. You have the blood of the Beast King in you. Just a drop of blood is enough to help little Xian overcome this crisis. But Gu Mingming would not hesitate even if she had to bleed herself dry in exchange for Qixuan's safety, much less a drop of blood. The key was that her body was poisonous, especially her blood. Although she had been wearing the kiss of the ocean for many days and could now mate with her partner, that was only possible when Elvis and Leah were powerful enough. In other words, it was not that Gu Mingming was not poisonous, but that her poison had been diluted by the kiss of the ocean. In addition, Elvis and Leah had antibodies in their bodies so they could rely on their strength to not be poisoned to death by her. That was all. But blood was different. Just a drop of blood was enough for Gu Mingming to turn a 100-meter radius into barren land. Giving such a drop of blood to Qixuan? Was she helping him? Was she sure she did not want to kill him? Cole understood Gu Mingming's worries. He pointed at the kiss of the ocean on Qixuan's neck. If it's just a drop of blood, the kiss of the ocean can purify it. Gu Mingming did not trust Cole from the bottom of her heart. She turned to look at Elvis without saying a word. Elvis nodded as a reply. Gu Mingming finally made up her mind after seeing Elvis's reaction. She bit her finger and dripped a drop of blood between Qixuan's chattering teeth. Within a breath, Qixuan suddenly calmed down. But before Gu Mingming could heave a sigh of relief, Qixuan suddenly descended into a crazed state. His entire body kept convulsing. Gu Mingming was so worried that she did not know what to do. She could only call out his name over and over again. Tears streamed down her cheeks, causing Elvis's heart to ache. After a long while, Qixuan's state gradually calmed down. Then he slowly but clearly evolved before Gu Mingming's eyes. His tiny claws turned into long, fair fingers. His furry body gradually turned into a slender human form. His facial features were no longer that of a wolf's. With his head lowered, Gu Mingming could not see his face clearly. Elvis threw down a piece of beast skin to cover Qixuan's body. He did not like Gu Mingming to see other males naked, even if it was his son. This is considered to be over? Gu Mingming looked up at Elvis. Elvis scooped Gu Mingming into his arms and nodded, replying, yeah. The Beast King's bloodline is indeed different. It actually allowed little Xian to skip the half-beast stage and evolve into a rank 1 beastman. Agu, thank you. Cole knelt beside Qixuan and said as he caressed his little head. Gu Mingming's eyes were filled with resentment. Give me your dirty hands, don't touch my son. Cole was taken aback, but he still retracted his hand. He stood up and bowed to Gu Mingming. Since Xian is fine now and Agu doesn't really want to see me, then the two of you please leave. Gu Mingming snorted coldly. You seem to have forgotten that this is Sauder, my territory. I can go wherever I want. What right do you have to ask me to leave? Chapter 875. Since you know I won't feel comfortable staying in the same space with you, you should scram, shouldn't you? Gu Mingming didn't hold back against Cole at all. Cole looked deeply at Qixuan, who was sprawled on the ground. But if little Xian doesn't see me when he wakes up, he will run around the world again. The snow outside is so heavy. As a first-level orc, I'm afraid he won't be able to handle it. It's very dangerous. Gu Mingming clenched her fists. Qixuan's glance at her before he rushed into the snow was like a sharp knife stabbing into Gu Mingming's heart. She couldn't deny Cole's words. If Cole wasn't around, Qixuan would definitely look for him when he wakes up. Taking a deep breath, Gu Mingming ignored Cole. She just nestled in Elvis's arms and looked quietly at Qixuan, who was sprawled on the ground without moving. Her eyes were filled with worry. After some time, Qixuan seemed to have woken up. He stretched his neck and propped himself up on his elbows. Qixuan. Gu Mingming's heart was finally at ease. Qixuan was first taken aback when he heard Gu Mingming's voice. He then turned around and looked at Gu Mingming in surprise. He didn't expect her to be here at all. After a long pause, he opened his mouth and called out, Mother. Gu Mingming immediately jumped out of Elvis's arms and pounced over to hug Qixuan. She rubbed his forehead intimately. Good baby, it's good that you are fine. You scared Mother to death. Qixuan hesitated for a moment, but still reached out to gently stroke Gu Mingming's back. Just like how she used to coax the 4 brothers to sleep when they were young. Although his voice was mild, there was a hint of coaxing in it. I'm sorry for making you worry. Gu Mingming shook her head and wiped her tears. It's all right. As long as you are fine, mother will be fine. Qixin didn't say anything else. He just tied a knot in the beast skin and wore it as a simple beast skin dress. He then took 2 steps back to distance himself from Gu Mingming. Mother, I am fine now. You guys, hurry back. Gu Mingming was stunned. She looked up at Qixin and asked in anticipation, aren't you coming back with me? Qixin could not bear to see Gu Mingming's tear-filled eyes. He tilted his head and said, I am already of age and must be independent. But you are my son, Gu Mingming said. Qixin did not compromise. His voice was calm and gentle as he said, I will live independently and will still be your son. Gu Mingming stood up and took 2 steps forward. But the closer she got, the further Qixin retreated. It was obvious he was rejecting her. Qixin, are you blaming your mother for not protecting you? Gu Mingming felt wronged, but there was nothing she could do. She didn't know if all parents in the world were at a loss in front of their children. She only knew, she didn't want to lose this son. Qixin pursed his lips and shook his head. Mother, I am a wolf. Gu Mingming was at a loss. She looked up at Qixin, not understanding what he meant. Qixin looked back into Gu Mingming's eyes and said slowly, wolves are not a tribe that needs protection. Gu Mingming compromised. She nodded and said, all right, since you don't blame your mother, you can go back with her. If you want to be independent, you have to at least survive this winter. Chapter 876. Qixin. Gu Mingming wanted to say something, but Qixin interrupted her. There was a faint smile on Qixuan's face. It was clearly so gentle, but it was filled with alienation and sadness. His eyes were slightly curved and the corners of his lips curled up, displaying just the right amount of elegance. Mother has Elvis, Leah and my other 3 brothers by her side. Even without me you will not be lonely. But apart from me he has nothing else. Gu Mingming clenched her teeth. She had never expected that the first man to tell her, he needs me more than you, would be her son. If the person who needs me more was a female, she would accept it. But why did it have to be Cole? Qixin, you clearly know. Qixin nodded. I know that he is a bad person in your eyes. You don't like him and have never thought of trying to accept or understand him. But that is between the 2 of you and has nothing to do with me. Gu Mingming didn't say anything. She just frowned at Qixin. The uneasiness in her heart grew stronger and stronger. He's an important person to me. I can't just leave him alone. So, mother, please go back. Gu Mingming bit her lower lip and slowly released her tightly clenched fists. She didn't want to push her son further away. The only thing she could do was to stand there without moving. Trying her best to smile, Gu Mingming looked at Qixin. My son is so handsome. Taking a deep breath, Gu Mingming felt her entire chest tremble. If not for Elvis supporting her from behind, she felt that she might not even be able to stand. But what could she do? A grown son cannot be controlled by his mother. Your father and I will go back first. I will always keep the door to the secret tunnel open. Whenever you miss me, you can come back to see me, all right? Every word was a deep plea. Gu Mingming had never been so humble in front of anyone. Even when she and her mother were abandoned by their father, she had never begged like this. Even when she was chased out of the house by her mother, she had never begged like this. Her family was her most vulnerable spot. Facing Qixin, she could only be so humble. Qixin frowned. He took 2 steps forward and held onto Gu Mingming's shoulders. After hesitating for a moment, he still pulled her into his arms. Mummy, don't be like this. No matter where I am, I will always be your son. Yeah. Gu Mingming responded with a nasal sound, but her crying intensified. Elvis pulled Gu Mingming out of Qixuan's arms and placed her on his chest. He gently wiped her tear-stained face clean before looking at Qixin. Take care of yourself. Qixin nodded. With that, Elvis carried Gu Mingming back to where they came from. After Gu Mingming and Elvis left, Cole's face gradually darkened. He walked towards Qixin step by step, raised his hand and grabbed him by the neck. I think I've said it before. I'm the only one who's going to piss her off. His fingers were like metal pincers around Qixuan's neck. Raising him up, Qixuan's feet left the ground slightly. His face was flushed red from the lack of oxygen, but his body did not show any signs of resisting. He allowed death to approach him, but his eyes only stared unwaveringly at Cole, without a single ripple of emotion. Little Xian, don't forget yourself and challenge my bottom line just because I treat you well. Be obedient and don't make me angry, understand? Chapter 877. After returning to the stone castle, Gu Mingming's mood was very low. Elvis told Leah everything about Cole and Qixuan. Actually, children needed to be independent after they grew up. If Gu Mingming had not stopped them, the three young ones would have long gone out to fend for themselves. From the day they evolved, they no longer had any relationship with their original family. But because of Gu Mingming's persistence towards her family, Leah and Elvis made an exception and used the excuse that the three young ones had yet to fully evolve to keep them by their side. Seeing Gu Mingming's dejected look, Lee's heart ached. Sighing, Leah wagged his tail and sat beside Gu Mingming. He gently held her shoulders and placed her head on his chest. Children have grown up and have their own lives. You can't keep them by your side forever, can you? Leah kissed the top of Gu Mingming's head and said gently, "Moreover, don't you still have me and Elvis? The two of us will never leave you." Children had grown up and had to leave eventually. Gu Mingming understood this logic, but it did not mean that she did not feel sad. But fortunately, Qixuan would come over from the secret tunnel every few days to eat and chat with Gu Mingming. Gradually, Gu Mingming's mood improved. However, the fact that Qixuan, who had evolved the latest, was the first to become a first-level orc successfully stimulated the other three young ones, especially Kanwu. Then, in order to improve their own abilities, the three young ones started training in the wheel training mode at home. At first, the three of them fought each other, but later on they found Leah to train with. When Leah wanted to cook for Gu Mingming, the three young ones started to target Elvis. Elvis was very unhappy that the three young ones he trained lost to Qixuan, who was trained by Cole. So when he trained with the three young ones, he was very ruthless. But the three young ones became more courageous as they fought. They were not at all scared off by Elvis's ruthlessness, but instead entered a state of excitement. Time slowly passed as the father and son warmly sparred with each other. Until a crack appeared on the snow sealing the cave entrance and a gentle breeze blew in. Gu Mingming knew that a new year had begun. According to tradition, as the tribe leader and witch doctor, Elvis and Leah should host the first hunt after the new year. Gu Mingming was rather looking forward to the first hunt of this rainy season. After tidying himself and the three young ones, Elvis carried Gu Mingming in his arms. With a wave of his hand, the thin layer of snow blocking the entrance was smashed to the ground. Gu Mingming took in a deep breath of fresh air, then sighed in satisfaction. The weather was still a little chilly and Elvis was afraid that Gu Mingming would catch a cold, so he used a large piece of beast skin to wrap her tightly. She did not resist and allowed Elvis to wrap her up. Sauter held the ceremony at the deity altar, and it was here that Cole exchanged the secret signal with her, using the phrase, "hoeing the fields in the middle of the day," to confirm her identity as the messenger of the beast deity. But when Gu Mingming and the rest arrived at the temple, they realized that a large number of Snow Fox tribesmen had already gathered there. It looked like the ceremony had been going on for half a day. And the one hosting the ceremony, was it Oakley? Gu Mingming frowned. She did not go up the stage and just watched quietly. Chapter 878. Gu Mingming was not a person who placed great importance on power, but she was not a fool either. Oakley's actions today were obviously overstepping his authority. Gu Mingming frowned and did not go up the stage. Meanwhile, everyone on and off the stage were already kneeling down, waiting for Gu Mingming's command. Leah whispered into Gu Mingming's ear, "The hunt is an important matter, it cannot be delayed. As for the rest, we can talk about it later." Gu Mingming hesitated for a moment before nodding her head. Elvis lifted her up onto the stage. Then Gu Mingming turned around to face the crowd and said, "Warriors, congratulations on passing the test of the harsh winter and becoming an even more outstanding existence. Now, it's time for you to display your talents and abilities to the beast deity. The first hunt after winter shall begin now." Hundreds responded to her call. Just as Gu Mingming finished her sentence, deafening roars resounded from below the stage, one after another. Elvis shook the shiny black fur on his body. His huge and burly body was like a king under the scorching sun, emitting an undeniable sense of oppression, causing everyone to subconsciously sharpen. Under his majesty, no one dared to take even half a step forward in front of him. With Elvis in the lead, a group of tribesmen dashed out. Leah never had to participate in this kind of hunt. Elvis alone was enough to control the entire scene. Gu Mingming's gaze landed on Oakley, who also did not participate in the hunt. She did not say a word and just watched quietly. Oakley did not panic, he just bowed to Gu Mingming then said, "Does the great messenger have something to ask? Why don't we move to the meeting hall?" Gu Mingming did not reply, she just turned around and walked out. Winter had just ended, the snow had not even melted and the ground was very muddy. Leah carried Gu Mingming in his arms, saying dotingly, "The ground is cold, it's still more comfortable in my arms, right?" Gu Mingming smiled coquettishly and nodded, not saying a word. She knew that Leah was afraid that she would be in a bad mood because of Oakley, so he was purposely teasing her. The meeting hall was not far behind the deity altar. After about 5 minutes, Gu Mingming was already sitting on the stone chair covered with white tiger skin. Leah started a fire, boiling water at the side for Gu Mingming to drink. Oakley, on the other hand, was standing right below Gu Mingming, looking back at her with his head held high, not avoiding her gaze at all. This winter, Sauter has a total of 3 litters of cubs. Another snow fox female is pregnant and should be a female. Due to the method of food storage taught by the Great Messenger, no males died during the winter because they were treated as food. Only 7 died because their bodies were too weak to withstand the low temperature. The females of the Snow Fox clan were more delicate than the other clans. That was why I told the females to stay at home to avoid getting sick. This was also the reason why the Lord Messenger did not see any females today. However, all the males had come out and the scene was still very spectacular. I wonder if Sir Envoy is satisfied with my arrangements? Gu Mingming chuckled. Yeah, you have governed Sauter very well. Oakley lowered his head and maintained his faint smile. Thank you for your compliment, Great Messenger. But, why didn't I see Barit and Oriton just now? Chapter 879. Gu Mingming chuckled and said, "My guards will listen to your arrangements?" If Barit and Oakley had a personal relationship and returned to St. Nazir after listening to Oakley's instigation, Gu Mingming might believe it. But that foodie Oriton who had not eaten Li's cooking for an entire winter, would he return to St. Nazir obediently without eating a meal? Who would believe that? Oakley lowered his head and with a respectful and cautious look, he said, "If the Great Messenger thinks that my arrangements are inappropriate, then I will immediately send someone to chase after the 2 guards." Gu Mingming took a deep breath and said, "Oakley, I cherish the friendship we once had. If you have any difficulties, you can tell me directly and I will definitely help you if I can. But I don't like people playing tricks behind my back. If anyone tries to lead me by the nose, then be prepared to be bitten by me. I don't wish for the day to come when my poisonous fangs are pointed at my former friends." Oakley's expression did not even change. He was still respectful, calm and collected as he said, "I am the Great Messenger's most loyal subject. No matter what I do, I will always put the Great Messenger as my top priority. Didn't the Great Messenger also believe in this point and hand Sauter over to me to manage? Just like what the Great Messenger said, don't use those you doubt and don't suspect those you use. Since you use me, why are you doubting me?" Gu Mingming frowned and did not say a word. She just looked at him quietly. Oakley looked up and stared straight into Gu Mingming's eyes, asking, or could it be that the Great Messenger has suddenly changed her mind and wants to hold the authority tightly in her hands? Then the Great Messenger can just say it directly. Oakley will naturally listen to the Great Messenger's wishes and hand over the authority to you. After all, Oakley can also understand the logic of, kill the fox and dogs when they are dead. Why do you have to twist my words like this? You know that's not what I meant. Gu Mingming's heart turned cold. The shy and cunning Oakley from before had completely disappeared, right? Since when did the only thing left between them was mutual suspicion and jealousy? Although they were not that close in the past, they were at least friends, right? Now, kill the fox and dogs when they are dead? He actually used these 8 words to describe their relationship. Did I say something wrong? Oakley was still very calm, not a trace of emotion could be seen in his eyes. He said calmly, "When the messenger wanted to return to St. Nazir and needed someone to guard Sauter, she handed the turbulent Sauter over to Barit and me. Now that Sauter has regained its peace and prosperity, you came back to blame me for dispatching your guards. If you want to pin a crime on someone, you can always find a pretext. Actually, you don't have to go through all this trouble. You just have to say one word and I'm just a mere level 2 orc. Do I even have the leeway to resist?" Oakley's words made Gu Mingming feel like her heart was stuffed with a ball of cotton. She wanted to refute but found that she had nothing to say. Back then, it was a fact that she had left a turbulent Sodor to him and Barit, or even, to say that it was turbulent was a euphemism. She had predicted that Cole would turn back and attack, so she left Oakley and Barit as bait. This was what she owed them and she had to pay them back. If you just want power, I won't interfere. But, you should know that there are some principles that must be adhered to, and some bottom lines that cannot be broken. Chapter 880. After Oakley finished speaking, he bowed and left. Gu Mingming leaned into Li's arms tiredly. She pinched the bridge of her nose, feeling a headache coming on. Li's hands pressed lightly on Gu Mingming's temples, massaging them with just the right amount of strength. He said softly, "Why do you have to worry about such dirty things? Can't you just leave it to Elvis and me to handle?" Gu Mingming sighed and said, "You two are too harsh. If possible, I still want to pull Oakley back. After all, we were once friends." Leah kissed the top of Gu Mingming's head and said, "Silly girl, you are too soft-hearted, that's why you are so easily manipulated by others." Gu Mingming looked up into Li's eyes and said, "Leah, I am scared." "What are you scared of?" Li's long and narrow eyes were like a gentle breeze, gently caressing Gu Mingming's heart. "I am scared that Cole will snatch away the people around me one by one, and in the end they will all become his." Gu Mingming buried her head into Li's chest and said in a low voice, "If the enemies standing in front of me in the future are all my family and friends, what should I do? Can I bear to do it? One Qixin has already made things difficult for me. Now it's Oakley, what's next? Will it be Barit or Oriton? Will it be Sandy or Ian, or will it be you or Elvis?" Leah chuckled and said, "Mingming, you must have confidence in yourself. The people around you are not so easily snatched away. At least, Elvis and I will definitely not leave you, isn't that right?" Gu Mingming nodded but did not say a word. Yes, Elvis and Leah would never leave her. But what if in the end, there was no one else besides the two of them by her side? What should she do? What if Huda and the rest also stood by Cole's side like Qixin in the future? What should she do? Before winter, Sandy's attitude towards Cole was already not quite right when she received her at the city gates. She wanted to ask then but could not find a suitable opportunity. Soon after, winter came and the two of them did not have the time to ask again. She felt an unbearable pain in her chest and her breathing became difficult. What if, after Qixin, Sandy was also standing on Cole's side? What was she going to do? The first hunt led by Elvis ended in the afternoon. It had to be said that Sodor's Snow Fox tribe was an old tribe with a strong foundation. Their battle power and teamwork abilities were much higher than Saint Nazir's tribe, which only had a few years of history. As such, this first hunt was very satisfying for Elvis and it was a good exercise for him. The prey offered to the beast deity was also bigger and better than the ones hunted in Saint Nazir in the past. But as the tribe leader, Oakley went to handle the complicated ceremonies, while Gu Mingming and Leah returned to the stone castle. They were prepared to cook the first prey of the year after Elvis and the three little ones returned, as a way to celebrate the start of the new year. Before she even saw them, she could already hear the three of them discussing excitedly. Such noise broke Gu Mingming's gloomy mood. She walked out of the door with a gentle smile on her lips. Looking at the father and son returning in the sunset glow, the lines on Gu Mingming's face were as gentle as the afterglow of the setting sun. It was warm but not blinding, making one yearn for it and feel attached to it. Chapter 881. Elvis pulled Gu Mingming into his arms and kissed the top of her head. It was as if he missed her too much after not seeing her for the entire afternoon. After a long while, Elvis finally let go of Gu Mingming and hugged her into the stone castle. Kanwu pestered Gu Mingming to tell him how brave he was today, while Jiaoyu complained about Kanwu's exaggerations from time to time, causing Kanwu to stomp his feet in anger. Huda put on the airs of a big brother and stepped out to balance the situation when Kanwu and Jiaoyu quarreled too much. As for Qixin, he always acted like a spectator and stayed out of the matter. He did not participate and just watched. After Leah finished preparing the food, the whole family finally had their first meal of the new year. Gu Mingming finally understood why the elderly cared so much about the word reunion. She had been in the beast world for a year. She did not know if her parents in that world had realized that this extra daughter of theirs had disappeared. If they had, would they be worried for her? Would they also search for her whereabouts? Or, rejoicing that such an extra existence had finally disappeared in the boundless world? They no longer had to worry about her suddenly appearing and becoming someone's burden. "Mummy." Camel put down his bowl and chopsticks and inched closer to Gu Mengmeng. He said coquettishly, "Can I bring some food to Master Burke?" Gu Mengmeng was taken aback. Burke? Wasn't he? She looked at Leah only to see him smiling helplessly. That was just a show. Why would I be serious? If I really killed Burke, wouldn't Canwa risk his life to fight me? So? Gu Mengmeng asked. Leah shrugged. Although I did not communicate with him beforehand, that fellow is still considered smart. When I appeared that day, he immediately understood what I meant and cooperated with me in a fight. However, he was clearly not my opponent, so I knocked him out. My attack was a bit heavy and his injuries were not light, but he wouldn't die. When Oriton and the rest went over to deal with the aftermath, they arranged for him to be sent back to Sauter to recuperate. Then why didn't you tell me then? Gu Mengmeng had always thought that Burke had really been beaten to death by Leah. Leah put on an innocent look. Why would an unimportant person mention it? Gu Mengmeng chuckled. Leah was a jealous person. He did not wish to mention any male's name in front of her. She was already used to it. Without asking further, Gu Mengmeng took a huge stone bowl and filled it with meat for Canwu. Go. Canwu was overjoyed. He was grinning from ear to ear. He called Huda and Jiaoyu and ran out. Canwu was extremely happy. He smiled so widely that one's eyes could not see of his eyes. Of Gu Jinwu's eyes. Qishuan's eyes were filled with envy, but he knew that he was not in a position to ask Gu Mengmeng to share some food with someone important. He was afraid that they would rather throw away the food than let that person have a bite. Gu as of Lias of him, of Gu Gu of Meng of. Gu Mengmeng was sensitive. She naturally noticed that Qishuan's expression was not quite right the moment Canwu said he wanted to send meat to Burke. To tell the truth, if it was for Cole, she would rather throw the food away than let him have a bite. But for her son. Chapter 882. Can I also do that? Qishan was clearly surprised, so surprised that he appeared rather agitated. Gu Mengmeng chuckled and rubbed Qishuan's head. Of course you can. You are my son, what is there not to do in this family? Actually, Qishan was already a fully grown adult now. Gu Mengmeng's intimate actions made him feel rather uncomfortable. But at the same time he also felt a little greedy and satisfied. Amidst the conflict, he survived in the cracks, enjoying the suffocating and conflicted pleasure. Thank you, Mummy. Qishan said in a small voice. Then he lifted his bowl and bowed before leaving. After the four children left, Gu Mengmeng sighed. The smile on her face gradually faded, leaving behind a trace of loneliness. Elvis used his index finger to gently rub the area between Gu Mengmeng's brows. His pair of eyes that were supposed to be sharp were now filled with a gentle glow, as if he could not wait to present the softest thing in the world to this little girl in front of him. He said in the most soothing voice, "Children have grown up and will eventually have to go out and explore the world. So, try to divert your attention away from them and focus it on Leah and me. How about that?" Gu Mengmeng felt as if her heart had been scratched by a kitten. She looked at Elvis, who was seriously fighting over her with his four sons, and could not help but smile. Her smile was filled with a tinge of helplessness and sweetness. From the moment their sons were born, this fellow had treated the four of them as his #1 love rivals. Now that their sons were all grown up, why did he feel as if he had finally overcome all his hardships? Xiao Meng. Elvis's voice was a little hoarse, like hot sand grinding against iron. It had a bewitching quality to it. When we went hunting today, I observed that Huda and the rest should be evolving soon. Gu Mengmeng's body stiffened. Will it hurt like Qishan? Elvis shook his head. No, their bones have already evolved. Their bones have evolved so they won't be in so much pain anymore. Gu Mengmeng finally relaxed and heaved a sigh of relief. Elvis carelessly twirled Gu Mengmeng's hair. I wanted to say that once they complete their evolution, they will have to move out and live independently. Gu Mengmeng bit her lower lip. Her son was only a little over a year old. In the modern world he was still at the age where he would be hugged in his arms and nibbled on a pacifier. But she had to face the situation of her son becoming independent and moving out of the house. Everything in the beast world was really fast-paced. She was only pregnant for a few weeks and the child could only be raised for a year. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't disappointed. But Gu Mengmeng knew that as a qualified mother, she had to learn to let go at the appropriate time and accept the fact that her child was an individual. She could not force her own desires onto her child. So Gu Mingming nodded and said, I know, I will be mentally prepared. Elvis kissed Gu Mingming's little face and said, don't worry, even if they become independent, you won't lose them. Just like Qixin, he will come back to accompany you every few days. Gu Mingming smiled helplessly. I'm just afraid that when the child grows up, he will be like the husky in the neighborhood. If I let go, he will disappear. Elvis had not heard the term husky for a long time. Thinking about how she used to tease him with this term, those sweet memories immediately occupied the corner of his lips. The gentleness in his gaze spread into ripples. Elvis said happily, if they dare not go home to see you, I'll break their legs. Aside from the topic, today's update has ended. Susu was trying hard to save her chapters. Babies, why aren't you saying that you love me? Chapter 883. That night, Sauter hosted a bonfire party. After all, it was the start of the new year and Gu Mingming, the messenger of the beast deity, had to attend. The biggest bonfire and the supreme stone chair belonged to Gu Mingming alone. Bonfire parties were usually organized by families, meaning that there would be as many bonfires as there were females. Those without a family could go to the side of the females they were pursuing to make their presence known. If they did well, they would be part of a family from that night onwards. However, under such circumstances, Oakley could only maintain his role as the host, arranging and handling the affairs. A few females tried to express their goodwill to him but were all brushed off by him. Kamwu obtained Gu Mingming's approval and brought Burke to their bonfire to play together. The three young ones were still immersed in the day's hunt and their excitement had not subsided. They pestered Burke to the point that he wanted to talk to Gu Mingming a few times but could not find the time. Gu Mingming was happy and relaxed. She knew that the three young ones were doing it on purpose. Because once Burke really started a conversation with her, he would never have the chance to sit in front of her, no matter if she ignored him or not. The two males in her family would never allow a male with ulterior motives to make his presence known in front of her. Elvis continued to act as a leather sofa with constant temperature, protecting Gu Mingming tightly. Leah continued to prepare the food while Gu Mingming listened to her three sons' heroic achievements with great interest. Her gaze occasionally drifted to the surroundings but she could not find Qixin. He had accompanied her for a meal in the afternoon so he must have stayed to accompany Cole at night. He was clearly her own son but he treated Cole as family. Could it be that she had jinxed Qixin? Could it be that Stockholm Syndrome had really befallen Qixin? At this moment, Gu Mingming really wished that she was Wang Xiaoxin. If she had studied psychology, would she not be so helpless? Gu Mingming. A soft voice rang from behind Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming turned around in response and met Sandy's sparkling eyes. Yeah, every time she saw Sandy after winter, Gu Mingming would feel as if she had gone to Korea for liposuction and plastic surgery. She had seen her once last year but she could not help but be shocked when she saw her again this year. Seriously? Whiteness covers all ugliness, fatness destroys everything. All fat people were potential stocks. When they slimmed down, they would look so beautiful that they would be afraid of themselves. Standing up from Elvis's arms, Gu Mingming took the initiative to pull Sandy's little hand over to sit beside the bonfire. Bode and Colin looked serious and cautious as they guarded Sandy's side as if they were facing a formidable enemy. They looked a little scary. Gu Mingming turned to look at them. What? Are you afraid that I'll eat Sandy? Bode nodded subconsciously. When he came back to his senses he immediately shook his head. He wanted to explain but when he saw Sandy rolling her eyes, he immediately shut up and lowered his head, not daring to say a word. Gu Mingming could not be bothered with them. She just took Lee's roasted meat and passed it to Sandy. Here, you can eat first. Sandy smiled sweetly. She took the barbecued meat but didn't eat it immediately. Her face was bright red under the light of the fire. She looked especially shy. Gu Mingming, I have something to tell you. What is it? That you're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.